What's going on, guys? Kevin here to bring you a new video today. For today, I want to talk about my thoughts on the new Terminator movie, Terminator Dark Fate, that I recently saw about a week ago, actually. But I want to give my thoughts on it because I've kind of been thinking a lot about like this whole franchise and how much I love it, and at the same time how much it's changed and how I don't like it now as much, and different positives and negatives about it that I'd say, and also just like my thoughts on the movie because like this movie surely, kind of was like a disappointment in comparison to like the originals, just with like how it was structured, and I'll get into that, but like um, Terminator Dark Fate was definitely an enjoyable action film with this new Terminator that was sent to kill them. He had like the ability to like regenerate really fast, and like he was almost like liquid metal, but like even stronger. You could like break him apart, and then like he would reform and whatnot. Like and like the action scenes with that are pretty cool. And this like augmented girl is also sent to protect this new savior of the world, who's also pretty cool because she has like calculated agility and somewhat super strength, I guess. So she's pretty badass. I will say. They don't really like explain a lot like her character's like backstory, how she was sent. I guess she was chosen by this girl that she's protecting, Danny. But they don't like. I feel like they could have like got into more of like how she became augmented or whatever. And like the biggest flaw that's in connection with this movie that I wanted to bring up was the fact that at the beginning of the movie, John Connor is killed, which really doesn't make any sense. I've tried to explore all avenues of logic to understand it, and no avenues make sense. And here's why. Because John Connor is the one who leads the resistance to stop Skynet. And essentially, if he dies, then he can't stop Skynet, right? That's your first thought. You're like, okay, yeah. But I watched this, and I watched like this extreme edition, which went into detail about like deleted scenes, different things about making the movie. It was a long ass thing that I watched that I'll get into later, but basically, there was a deleted scene that showed that Judgment Day never happened. I think that was actually iterated in the movie Terminator Dark Fate, like that basically because they had stopped Cyberdyne and destroyed that building, Skynet was basically not created, I guess, and that's not. This is a stupid thing about it. You can't take into account Terminator 3. That doesn't count towards the franchise because Terminator 3 basically theorized that, Judgment Day would still come, the robots would still take over either way. It was like an irreversible fate. Whereas Terminator 2, in connection with Terminator Dark Fate, basically theorized that, they destroyed Cyberdyne, so Skynet was essentially stopped. So that made it so that John Connor himself actually didn't have to lead the resistance. In Terminator 2 Judgment Day, he ends up becoming a senator in a deleted scene. And like he doesn't have to fight machines at all. So like I found that interesting. Like so I guess like the logic of time travel is so muddled and weird. Like I don't see how this could ever work in real life. Like it just there's so many like ways that it just doesn't make sense that it to think that it could work in real life. Like so like basically like you have one instance of time travel where fate is kind of irreversible. Like your future is going to happen no matter what. Like the changes that you are making might be what led to your future. And then there's the other prophecy that making these changes will change your future, which I thought that Terminator, the original Terminator, kind of emphasize the latter because John Connor sends Kyle Reese, who's John Connor's father, back to save Sarah, who is actually Kyle's father. So it's like a continuous loop. So it's like, you know, those events happened so that the future that we have with John Connor being born could happen. But then, like, um, Terminator 2 Judgment Day kind of twists that and says that, you know, we can change our fate by doing this. So, like, it kind of just, I mean, like, of course, time travel is going to be confusing as hell, but, like, it kind of, like, makes it inconsistent, I feel like, um, when you really think about it, because why would John stop Skynet um, and then be killed? So, like, I mean, like, I guess because Skynet was never created in the first place, he was killed. But like, the thing that gets confusing about it is like, how does he get killed? Because if he had stopped Skynet, then how were they sending a Terminator back in time to kill him still? Were they sending it from an alternate future that was still bad, even though they had changed the future so that it wouldn't be bad? Like, because like they send another Arnold, like just another T-800, and he dies as like a kid, not just as an adult, not just like, oh, like he was fending off Skynet, like he stopped them. No, Skynet wasn't going to happen, but a Terminator was still there anyways to kill him. So like, did they send it before the future was sealed? Did they send multiple Terminators? Like, were they just like waiting to come out and go after him, or like, I don't know. Like, what the hell? Like, that whole plot point just makes zero sense. For like the basis of logic for it, it's just like why did you need to kill him? Like, that's just so unnecessary. And I think the reason they did it because they wanted to push the idea, the feminist movement, you know, to say that, you know, a woman should be the savior of humanity, which is fine. I mean, when you're thinking about it like on a practical scale, but when you actually put it into the movie like in that sort of context, it just doesn't feel right. Like, for the movie to just like say, yeah, we're gonna kill off our main hero and just usher in this random other girl because, you know, a girl needs to be the savior of humanity. Like, okay, but like, yeah, and like, what was I gonna say? This was kind of their reasoning for bringing back Arnold too, because Arnold's Terminator dies in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So like, you know, this was how they brought him back because essentially, the Terminator that killed John, you know, goes on to live a regular life and ages. So that's how we come to see, you know, the aged Terminator who just, he was like living out in a log cabin in Texas or whatever. And like, yeah, he was just, you know, chilling basically. But like, you know, like, that was like their way of bringing him back. You know, I guess like, I mean, like, I suppose it's not a bad way to bring him back because like the whole like basis of it is kind of interesting, I guess, with like how he essentially learns like human behavior and learns how to be more human over time, which is something that was emphasized in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. If you watch closely, that's actually like a point of like emphasis in the movie is that like Terminators might not be that human to start out with, but they know how to learn things. They know how to learn to be human. So when we see Arnold all aged, he's definitely a lot more like almost human. You can tell he's not entirely human. Like, there's some things about him that are definitely not human. Still, you can pick up on like the fact that he's still a Terminator, but at the same time, like, he's kind of like learned things. So I found that aspect interesting. But like, killing off John Connor just like was so unnecessary because like the thing was like, I'm all for like supporting like women's rights and whatnot and female empowerment, but the thing was you had Sarah Connor in the movie, who is already a fantastic example of female empowerment. Like, Terminator 1 is one of my favorite movies, and I love when like Sarah Connor pulls through and stops the Terminator herself at the end and you know, becomes more brave and becomes like really badass in Terminator 2, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like she's so badass in that. Like that's a great example of female empowerment because of like her becoming like a warrior essentially and doing whatever it takes to protect her son. It's just so great. But like this wasn't necessary. Like you could have just kept John, and mind you, you were bringing back Linda Hamilton, who was Sarah Connor, anyways. So like you could have had her, and just had like a older John that you were trying to protect. Like maybe he did stop Skynet, but maybe like they started this new thing called Legion, which they did, and they needed John to protect them from that too. I mean, like it just felt like they kind of like overcomplicated it. The ironic thing is that like James Cameron said like I don't want to like have to explain like all this time travel stuff like it's overcomplicating things, but like dude like that story doesn't make sense though. Like you didn't probably should have like explained that better. Is the thing like you really didn't explain it that well. Is the thing. It just yeah, it's all kind of messed up. I don't know. That's why if you really just like watch Terminator Dark Fate and don't think about it too much, like you'll enjoy the movie, but like once you start like viewing it beyond just like a logic of like how good was the action and how good was like them killing the Terminator, how fun was it to watch, that's all good and all. Like that was fantastic. I love the special effects of the Terminator played by Gabriel Luna, and even the augmented girl like helping out and stuff. But then you like think about all this logic in the movie, it just doesn't add up at all. I mean, I don't. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that this movie didn't do well at the box office, because like I think it was a decent movie that deserves a little better, but at the same time I really don't feel bad for it because I don't think there should be any more sequels, even though I enjoy all of the Terminator movies except for Terminator Salvation, because that's not even a real Terminator movie. Let's be honest. That's just post-apocalyptic Terminator with Christian Bale. Like, get real, guys. That's not Terminator. Get the fuck out of here. Anyways, but yeah, like, what was I gonna say? But yeah, essentially, it basically flopped at the box office, and now it's probably not gonna get another sequel. This could be because of just lessening interest in the film franchise, because Genesis was not well reviewed by people. I mean, I thought it was okay. I kind of enjoyed it, but I'm a fan of the franchise, so like I'm gonna enjoy pretty much any Terminator film as long as it has like a cool Terminator chasing a bunch of people. That's kind of what that was. It was a little unconventional and weird for the Terminator franchise, but I didn't mind it. But I think that might have like turned a lot of fans away. And then also like you had what was it? The fact that, sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. You had the fact that this movie was released in October or the beginning of November, when movies don't get quite as much appeal. A movie like this would definitely have done better if it was released in the summer. Like Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released in July. Like, this is a great movie to watch in the summer. Like, guys, come on. Like, I would love to have been around when this came out in 1991. Like, damn. Like, this movie is amazing. But, like, yeah, that's just the downfall of the movie. Like, honestly, like, I think that, like, the Terminator franchise could have just made the first two movies and then been done. I kind of wish now that I'm looking at it, like, that had happened. I mean, like, Terminator 3 was definitely okay. It wasn't bad. It kind of brought the series in a different direction with, Judgment Day actually coming to fruition, and, like, them having to see, these things actually come to life. It was a little weird with that, but, you still had your main character of John Connor and this other girl that, helped him in the Resistance, I guess. Which is also good. Yeah, it was good. The action was fun, but it was a little. It wasn't quite as good as the first two. The first two were amazing. I'm more partial to the first one, but the second one is also amazing. Like, I feel like it's a coin flip, honestly, like between which is better. Most people will say that the second one is better, which I find interesting because the first one's just a fucking classic. Like, I mean, the second one kind of just like, I guess like, kind of elevates different things and adds in special effects and adds in humor and a more like deeper story about like the father son relationship of the Terminator and John Connor, and then like also like different themes about um, various other things about like violence in the world and whatnot, which Jim Cameron actually talks about like in this long ass interview that I saw, which I do want to get into now because I watched this movie with captions that basically are spread out throughout the film that talk about how the film was made. It's called Extreme DVD. It kind of goes over like what made the film and how it was shot. Like how stunts were performed, how action was done, how the setting was built, like everything about the movie, like everything about the movie. There's like a caption like every like 5 seconds to read about like different elements of the movie, which is cool because like as a big fan of the franchise, it's great to see like literally everything about the movie. Um, I'm not kidding when I say literally everything about the movie, because like it took me 7 hours. I'm not joking, 7 hours to get through this movie, with all these captions. Partly because they would run by the screen so fast and I have to keep rewinding. And then also they had little segments throughout it where like they talked about like the music, the sound design, production, like how the sets were made, like how this nuclear shot was made, like where all the stuff gets like blown away by the nuclear warhead, I guess. And then like how they were on a tight timeline. Like they had like kind of limited time to make this film, so it was kind of a miracle that it came out the way it did. They also like kind of like cut corners on certain things where like if this film like had a later release date, it probably could have been like even more fantastic with like the special effects. But with movies, sometimes they're on like a release date and they have to adhere to that release date. They cannot push it back. So they really rushed to get it done, but it's a miracle that it turned out the way it did, with many different stunts they performed, many different revolutionary special effects that they did with Stan Winston and the other guys at the visual effects department, and then just like how each of the scenes were set up, like I saw throughout the film. It was quite an experience, but yeah, I really do have a passion for this film, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I feel like Terminator Dark Fate kind of, I guess, threw some of that like recognition away, I feel like. And I will say also, I really wish this film, Terminator Dark Fate, brought back Edward Furlong because he's great in this. And this was his first movie, and he got like acting lessons and learned how to shoot a gun and ride a bike and all sorts of stuff. And he was one of the best. He's definitely one of the highlights of the movie for sure. And like if they had brought him back as John Connor, like that would be amazing. But like, of course that didn't happen. Like they show like I don't even know, like maybe they brought in like a body double for him, but like when he gets killed, like it's Edward Furlong getting killed, which is weird because like, okay, like why don't you just show like some random adult? Like, okay, you have to show me a young John Connor getting killed for whatever reason, but like, okay, whatever, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I really just wish now, looking back on it, even though I did like the following Terminator films after it, I wish the franchise would have ended after the first two, but that's not the way movie studios work because you already know when a movie makes a ton of money, you know, they have to make a sequel for it because God forbid you don't capitalize on getting a cash grab on a movie because, like, I'm sure Terminator 3 was, you know, pretty big and, you know, Genesis was decent. Not sure how Salvation did, don't really care. Um, but, and then they wanted to cash in on, you know, bringing the franchise back with James Cameron, with Arnold and Linda Hamilton, and that was thought to be like kind of a success because they wanted to kind of rebound from Genesis. But look at how that turned out. Maybe if they chose a better release date, it would have been better. But I don't know. I don't think it would have done that well, anyways. But yeah. Either way, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This is just my different thoughts on the franchise after watching this movie and how Dark Fate kind of sucks with logic points. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one.